Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
this. What's going on?
I,
Oh,
I wish I wish it were a rest weekend for me.
yeah. You know what's funny? I pushed the envelope. I forced it to be such. It
Yeah,
wasn't.
good.
And I had a few clients that canceled. I have some really fun people that I work with that were showing up, and I had a new person. So I just reached out to the new person and said, "Listen, I want to bring the best version of myself to the session, which will require me to take this week off, and I'll see you next week." And they're like, "I get it. We're good." And to my other person, it's my did you I have like a sister studio that I'm supporting?
No
Okay.
news. Do
Yes.
tell.
Yeah, I didn't really broadcast it, but there's a Pilates studio in Orangeville that is called Purple Owl.
Okay.
And the lady that runs it is just like she's low key. She's not on Instagram. She has a great following, a solid referral business out of Orangeville, and I support her. I've been teaching her for a while, teaching her classical, and we work through the work, and she's learning from that angle, and then also just like talking through business and stuff. So it's kind of mentor relationship, and a studio that I will go in and teach at, and just support and just building it. So they're out in Orangeville, so it was my excuse to get in the car and drive out there. But so she's cool. So anyway, so that was my weekend, man. I actually physically, we want to have some integrity in what we do here. Like Friday's conversation was about rest and how we need to periodize rest for our clients, but we don't actually periodize rest for ourselves.
Mm, I'm guilty. You know what? And this weekend I had work to do, and I tried doing it. Well, I had to be in person for an event that we were holding at Heart House called For Your Body and Soul, just to make sure that all of the equipment was good for our instructors who were teaching, facilitating the classes there. And then, of course, with housework and everything, and then I had some writing to do. We were going to, on the Wellbeing Collective podcasts, we're going to highlight. I was the moderator for way back in late February, early March. I was the moderator for diversity and equity, and we were talking mainly in the yoga. And I mean, I added some Pilates stuff in there, but mainly in the yoga and the nutrition side of
Cool.
thing, and how diversity and equity needs to be more apparent there. So in the case of yoga, again, appropriation, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, appropriation. And
Fantastic.
then nutrition in terms of honoring, cultural methods that have actually proven themselves to be extremely healthy over centuries and not
Yes.
discounting them. And this was, so our nutritionist is West African, and our yoga specialist was South Asian and a
Mm-hmm.
full Ayurveda practitioner. So yoga, for those of you who don't know, yoga is only one small piece of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is the whole entity that encompasses yoga and several other mindfulness and nutritional and other practices. So long story short, I had to, because the conference that I moderated is going up online. They want me to voice the introduction and the outro. You know how
Cool.
hard it is to write a paragraph that kind of sums up everything from the front to the back and do it well. I must have thrown out at least 5 copies. And then as the weekend progressed, I realized I was brain dead because the previous week has been so
Naturally.
busy. So
Right.
your idea of that scheduled rest, actually mandating rest, just makes so much sense. And prime example, I try not to work on the weekends. I've had to work almost every weekend now since the beginning of March for one way, shape, or form. And I'm
Right.
running out of gas. I need a vacation, everyone.
Well, okay, so this is
Send
exactly
help.
it. So the send help, send food. Um, the cadence conversation with Tasha Edwards came up or so organically with Connie on Friday.
Hmm.
We were talking about like and her cadence was every 3 months she takes a week off,
Hmm.
right? Mine pre-COVID was every quarter, I guess every 3 months, I take 4 days, like do a 4 day weekend.
Hmm.
And I hadn't done that, so I was like, wait a minute, I haven't had 2 days off in a row in the longest time. So I was like, well, I gotta break this. Like, money's nice, but like clarity and be able to come back and things, you were so much more productive after. We all know it, but we almost don't trust the process of it.
Yes, how true. We don't. Well, you know what? Because we're inculcated culturally, with this very uh, bad work ethic, right? That work, work, work. The idle hands are the devil's plaything, etc.,
Mhm.
etc., etc. And meanwhile, our quality of life and our ability to socialize is just so flushed down the toilet right now.
For sure. And then
And listen,
no sort of rest, right?
but even during the pandemic,
Right.
look at what
Hmm.
we had to do. We had to move online, right? And so, in that respect, the boundary between home and office was completely eliminated for a lot of people,
Yes.
right? During the
Right.
pandemic. So, the commute was basically coming down the stairs from the bedroom.
Yep.
Right, and going, and so that meant longer hours, and then having, for people with families and stuff, these family and work kind of meshing
Hmm.
together, and kids school and everything else. So that idea of rest. Now I'm very much a hybrid model. Before everybody thinks that I'm a, back to work with a gun behind your head, back to the office. I don't think the office is necessarily a good place all the time.
Yes.
So don't get me wrong there, but the pandemic is forcing us to think about what mandated rest really means, right?
Hmm. Yep.
There was a terrible April Fool's joke that I fell for on Twitter that said that the Ontario government was considering a 4-day work week. Which paper put that out? I think two
Oh, I
papers.
saw that. Yes. Yes.
Yes,
I
Blog
didn't even
TO,
read it.
I think, put
Yeah.
it out, and their parent company, the Star, put it out as well too. Okay, but I was just thinking that, how will, and this is work ethic coming in, how
Yeah.
will this 4-day work week work here? I have the French experience. I know people in France who go through the 4-day work week all the time.
Mhm.
And it's a bit of a mishmash. It isn't everything that it's cracked up to be, though I would argue that French people in the office is a lot more intense in what you do. Their productivity is that much higher than what we do.
Yep.
So how are you going to balance weekends? Some people will be Monday to Thursday and off, right? Some people may be
Right.
Tuesday to Friday and then off. Some people may be over the weekend. And of course, if you're a service worker, 4-day work week may not apply,
Right.
right? So again, that whole idea of mandating rest is just so important. And, that also ties in maybe to work not bleeding into once work is done,
Right.
work is done
Well,
for the
that's the
day.
part I was gonna I mention too, is like the longer hours doesn't bother me as much as the lack of boundaries
Hmm.
bothers me. Right? I mean, like, and I think that's where people get tied up, is that there's a lack of boundaries. It blurs. One thing blurs into the other, and
Hmm.
that's where you get exhausted because there's no break. There's not even a drive home to clear your head before you put the mom hat on or the dad
Hmm.
cape on. Like, you mean, like, there needs to be some break in that, and there's no clear boundaries where one starts, one ends, and that also becomes a distraction and a challenge for people.
Exactly, exactly. It becomes a terrible challenge. And then, if you have kids, the kids don't feel taken care of, you know, well, mind you, I mean, they're usually at school anyway.
Mhm.
But when they're by you, they want to be by you for a reason. They want you to look after them. And as teenagers, they feel that you're around too much. Right? And why are you looking
Sometimes.
over my shoulder? I don't have any privacy. So, all of those. And then, of course, um, as much as I do like working at home, the socialization of working with people in the studio, I mean, I can't tell you how valuable it is to mental health to do that too.
Yes,
Even
absolutely.
though we're still, at least in the university community, we're still all wearing masks.
Yeah.
It's still so important to have that social connect. So, we have to start as a society renegotiating perhaps what the work week is,
Yeah.
what mandated rest really means, what a good model is that balances office and home or work and home,
Yeah.
all of those things. Where does Pilates fit in all of that? Because people also, as mandated rest, require exercise, right? Exercise, whether it be a long walk or a vigorous reformer session or a Cadillac
Mhm.
session or a mat class. And,
Mhm.
accompanied by probably some heavier resistance training, right? All of those things are important to a good balance and healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. You
So,
know, so and because of the way that we think, like when you said rest earlier, like I automatically wove in recovery into that. When I say rest, I don't mean sleep. I mean
mhm.
recovery,
For
right? I
some
mean,
people, we have to start with sleep though first,
but
because
sleep is
sleep
part of
is right.
recovery,
Yes.
right? Like sleep is
True.
part of recovery, a recovery strategy within rest. So I think that when we broaden the conversation, redefine or reclaim rest in a way that people understand that that can be an active and intentional thing,
Hmm.
then they're more there might be a more people will be able to be receiving more because they realize that rest is a strategy, recovery is a strategy, as much as recapping the conversation from Friday, as much as your training interval and like your strength phase and your power phase and your speed phase, your recovery phase is a phase. Uh,
Exactly.
so you don't have to be an elite athlete to have recovery penciled into your schedule. You just need to have recovery penciled into your schedule. And if you haven't, put it in there. And if you're like me, cancel some people and put it in there because they appreciate it. And you're also setting an example for them. Like for my clients, for them to see that I'm saying, listen, I'm stopping before I'm dragging myself here. I'm being intentional to pause so that I can be even better. They're like, fine, see you next Saturday. It's not like, well, what about me? They're like, okay, good. We set an example. We show that we're leaders by even doing that sometimes.
Yes, we do. I agree with you 100%. But I'm going to put a proviso in there. At least in downtown Toronto and the communities that I tend to serve, there's also we have to deal with also other um, cultural ideas about work and
Mm-hmm.
how work is achieved and how things are accomplished. So there has to be a degree of patience because there's going to be uh, ideas and long held ideas that are going to butt up against what you're talking about, and
Yeah.
then there are going to be ideas that say, well, I'm not interested in doing this all the time. I need a week or two off or several weeks off and then come back to this. And I'm talking about in the Pilates studio specifically, but more broadly just with everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I won't be on your show and say this is the way that we have to do it, because there's so many
Ways.
different ways. And I have to, going back to the French example, the one thing the French know how to do is to turn off. When they leave work, work is done. You speak of work again before work starts, and you're in big trouble, right?
Yes.
And when you're away, Paris is mainly a city of apartments. There are very few freehold homes in
Mm-hmm.
Paris, period. Even in the banlieue, in the suburbs, very few in the way of freehold homes. You have to go a ways out of Paris
Mm-hmm.
before you see that. So people will deliberately leave the city on their time off and go somewhere else, à la
Yeah.
campagne, right?
Yeah.
For
Right.
something completely different. It's something that's you also find in Montreal society, where their
Mm-hmm.
work ethic is very, very different. But I argue
Yes.
that they might be a little happier than we are because they're not. Again, they always accuse us of being so glum on the subway and so
Yes.
because people are commuting in and they just feel miserable. Whereas, again, they know how to drop it and leave, even
Yes.
for a short break, and come back, and that's part of their culture. So,
The car weaving my car conversation here, like the whole Michelin star thing, right? Like the chefs and stuff. That was a marketing thing initially,
mm,
where Michelin tires were saying, well, if you're leaving the city for a drive, you should go check out this little hamlet town and this restaurant. We're actually going to give it Michelin 3 stars or Michelin 5 stars. And it was sent by the tire industry to get
yes,
people to drive out to those different places. And then it got attached to chefs. And now that's the gold star. But initially it was piggybacking on that notion of your rest, your time, your getaway, go find those spots, right? So
mhm,
that's really what I did on the weekend. I just went out and just got in my car and just drove and just collected my thoughts and sat down and watched the world go by, sitting on a park bench in Cheltenham, Ontario. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you can with your car, that's fine. The problem with, again, just comparing with the French model too, is that unfortunately, our region, when it comes to getting out by other means other than a car, is
Hmm.
pretty lame, right? We won't have service to Niagara Falls again by train until maybe later this month, for
Right.
example, right?
Yeah.
So things like that are just to get out somewhere. At least now you can get to Barrie and Collingwood on a daily basis. But it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard for people, and then a lot of people don't have the freedom of a car.
Well, this is
So
the
you have to
and
master the staycation. How do you do that? How do you
that's
kind of
I
enjoy
was
the city?
e-
Yeah.
exactly, because that's exactly it. Because I mean, I did that a few weeks ago. And I posted it. Like I dropped my kids off at an event. I just parked my car and walked the trail,
Hmm.
and it felt the exact same as getting in my car and driving away. Because there's still the notion of intentionally checking out. I did it on foot in the middle of the busyness of my day of dropping kids off from event to
Yes.
event. I had like 40 minutes to burn. So I told the kids, I'm just going to go for a walk. Dropped them off, parked the car, walked around, got back in the car, and felt amazing. So
Yeah.
you can do it, but it's just discipline.
Yeah. Like you said, you have to mandate it. You have to put it, if you have a calendar, you have to put it, block it off.
Yep,
And, woe be the person that tries to book a meeting in that time.
yep, true.
Exactly. I gotta go.
You too,
This is
man.
one of those days. No rest for the wicked.
Yeah,
Despite everything that I've said, no rest for the wicked. So I have to get back to it. But thanks for
get
having
it.
me
All right, man.
on.
Cool. Thanks for
And
jumping
I'm
on.
glad that I'm just as a end note. Unfortunately, I didn't go to the Global Pilates Organization conference, but from all of the feeds that I was seeing from various people that we both know who were presenting stuff, they really looked like it was a good time. So I'm hoping to find some reels or some videos on YouTube and stuff that have come from that for those of us who weren't
Yeah,
able to
for
make
sure.
it.
Well, yeah, okay. I'll let you jump off. I'm gonna say what I'll say after. Basically, just I think we need to start pushing replays more, right? So we're gonna get into that. All right,
Okay.
cool. All right,
Thanks for having
thanks.
me on, Martin.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
You too.
Let me see here. Just seeing if someone is. All right. So anyone who's the Global Plies organization, this is the thing I was going to say, and I mentioned this to them, and I'm just throwing this out there for everyone who's running conferences, workshops, stuff like that. The beauty of these virtual conferences that we're doing right now is the fact that you know everything's recorded. You can capture those moments. The bad side is that people aren't as engaged because they know that they can like let it run, make dinner, chase their kids, and not pay attention and not be like locked in, engaged, or do the exercise. They can turn the camera off and just listen to the workshop. The good thing is that they actually have an access to it. I wonder if there's any stats on how many people actually watch them after. I'm not sure about that piece, but the other part to that though is that for all these conferences, I think there should be a greater push on selling your replays because the replays don't cost you an hour of your time. Even get affiliate programs set up for people who went to the conference. So if you participate in the conference and you sell a replay, you get 10% of the sale. It's not costing the people who did the program, did the conference any more money. They're going to make more money off of the sale of the replay. And there's a kickback for the person who referred the sale. So it's different than me up here saying buy this conference knowing that I'm going to get all the sales. I think it's a community thing, and then you're pushing the replay, and then everyone gets access. The organization gets some more money, and the person who recommended gets some money. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think they should do more of an affiliate program for the resale of the conference that someone goes to. Give that a try. Get your content out there. Maybe you'll get more registrations the following year. And I don't think that's such a bad thing. So that's just my thought on that. And if the Global Supplies Organization is up and wants to share some stuff that happened, that'd be great. I know Activate's coming up. There's other stuff that's coming up. Maybe that'll work. I think that, the businesses can use it. The people can use it. There's lots to learn, lots of access. There's a lot of exposure for the people who presented. Connie and I talked about that on Friday as well. I asked her who was she most excited about coming up. Friends like my friend Jada, who's speaking. That's my Adam. Sorry, Daniel Cabea's wife, who's speaking at that conference. People like that are doing great work and have great queuing, great classes, and really innovative. That now have a new platform. Sure, she's gonna kill it. Replay that, get her out there, let more people see the amazing heroes that are out there in our space. So that's my thought, and I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna give people that thought. I don't care. Like, it's not like I get any credit for that thought, but I think that is something that can be done logistically somehow. Paper trail. Like, it doesn't have to be an automated system, but it can be done. So I think maybe they should do it. It takes effort, it takes time, and it takes a community to push it. So that's just my thoughts on that. The other thing, this is what I wanted to drop on you guys today too. Oh, actually, sorry, before I even do that, Michael Brown is here. And I know some people, a lot of people were doing the fundraising for the Ukraine Pilates virtual classes as well. So we had Tracy and Michael on last week talking about the classes. So, Michael, you want to chat? Put in the chat what's going on with that. What are the next classes that are coming up? Is it completed? Just give people update on that as well. I'd just love to hear what's happening on that front. Okay, Pilates for Unite for Ukraine at Pilates.com. Cool. So yeah, so please check out that full class schedule, um, Pilates.com, and the donation link is there. Okay, awesome. So this Thursday, for those who will watch the replay and don't see the comments in the chat, this Thursday the campaign ends with a class by Blossom. So today's the 4th of April. Someone's birthday today, April 4th. And yeah, so jump on this if you're watching this recently within the replay before the Thursday comes up. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for that. So there's some great things all of you need to support. So thank you for that. And there's a line. I'm coming back to a line that I think is going to be the line I'm going to use throughout my campaign, and it's support, amplify, and connect. So Jenna Zaffino originally used that line in passing, and I've run with it, asked for permission to use it, to adopt it in so many different ways. Just don't stop. What's going on? Because support, amplify, and connect really does capture a lot of what I do. Supporting small businesses, supporting conferences, supporting individuals, amplifying those voices. Like, it's not that I'm the biggest voice in the world, but it just cumulatively, the more people are saying things, the more that the word gets out about these conferences. and that sort of thing. Um, so Jessica, if you want to join me on screen, I haven't seen you in forever. Love to hear what's going on. Give me a thumbs up if you want to join me live to just catch up for a minute. So support, amplify, and connect. And connect is the other piece too. So this is not about just rubbing shoulders with people just to know that you're important. This is about legitimately locking arms with people and helping them to grow and learning from them and just have that reciprocating relationship of growth. And I think that this is so important. I think that we all collectively in this Pilates community are doing that. We're seeing more of it, and obviously there's still some villains and there's some people who still are trying to win arguments and all that petty stuff. They're always going to be there. That's part of life. The best culture is going to have that. So it's no skin off my nose. What are the majority of people trying to do? And I think that people are trying to support one another, trying to amplify the things that are happening. They're trying to connect with one another. So let's keep that going. That's the way that I look at it. What are your thoughts? Sorry, I forgot to read this comment. Michael Brown's last comment says, "My class recordings are available. DM me for the link. Return to Life mat and Magic Circle mat. So those two are available if you want to request that from messaging Michael Brown, MBSRQSFO. I wonder what does that stand for actually. I always mean to ask what those letters meant. Michael Brown, MBSRQSFO. It's still close. I forgot you're West Coast. Never mind. It's all good. I literally just woke up. My eyes are still closed. That's fine. Thank you for texting. I hope you're doing well. I just started to see your stuff. Like you've been posting more. Like you kind of went dark for a little bit there, which is healthy at times. So I hope you're doing well, and that was intentional rest as opposed to a massive life crisis thing. I kind of hope for the best whenever I see people disappear. Found Pilates magazine. Hi. Okay. Sarasota, Florida, and San Francisco. Michael Brown. Cool. So that'd be like be doing MRYYZ for me for Tron. Gotcha. And being born in Toronto and raised in Mississauga, fun fact: the Toronto Pearson Airport's in Mississauga. It's not actually in Toronto. The Toronto Airport is not in Toronto. It's in Mississauga. So now you know YYZ. That's what that is. Um, yes, fearless. As we close, I was just thinking about a phrase that was on my client's shirt today, and it said fearless. And at first, it's like, wow, that's a cool shirt. It matched what she was wearing. So we joked about the fact they matched, but more so than what that meant. Because when you say fearless, people think no fear. Obviously, that's that definition of it. I was thinking this morning, and we're talking about the fact that I actually have more respect, not for the person who is fearless, but for the person who is courageous in spite of their fear. So her shirt says say courageous instead of fearless. I think courageousness, if that's a word, is a greater virtue than fearlessness. You could just be, I'm not going to unpack the fearlessness part of it, but just to say that Fearlessness is one thing, courage is another thing, where you're actually saying, I am scared, I have fears, and I'm doing this anyways. I have fear, I'm going to overcome that fear and get to that place of fearlessness. So, fearlessness that originated from a fear that you overcame is a different beast than just straight out, I have no fear. No fear, no fear. Like that sense of like almost not to genderize it, but the bravado of fearlessness as opposed to the authenticity of saying, I'm scared and I'm going to figure a way to do this and get to the other side of that fear. So I was just musing on that for myself, for my clients, for someone wearing a shirt on fearlessness. And what is the message that we're saying? Are you defeated if you have fears in your life? Is the gold standard to be fearless? Or is the gold standard to recognize your fears and overcome them? So then does that shirt become a negative, toxic message? Yet another body slimming, body shaming, fear shaming notion. And I hate almost doing this and throwing one more word into the cancel bucket, but it just made me think. It made me think about the fact that we throw lines like that out there and never actually unpack them enough to think about the fact that I'm not fearless, I'm brave, I'm bold, I'm courageous, and in spite of those things, I'm gonna do some stuff and it's gonna look like I'm fearless when the reality is that no, actually I'm really scared, but I did it anyway. I'd rather you be courageous than fearless. Um, because I'm the type of person who has said in the past, I have no fears. I'm not afraid of spiders, not afraid of stuff like that. I use wisdom around a scorpion walking on the floor, but that doesn't mean I'm afraid of it. So there's a difference between fear and exercising wisdom to not get hurt. But then there's also a notion of checking your fears, analyzing them, recognizing where they come from, and find your workaround so you can get to that place of victory, of personal victory. Shameless plug for my business. That's a sense of where we're at, where fearless isn't the gold standard. Courage is the gold standard. And if you're fearless, great. If you have fears, great. Let's talk about it. Why are you afraid of that? Okay. How can we work through that? Awesome. Imagine how good it's going to feel when you get to the other side of that fear. Boom, you are courageous. You could cross that off the fear list, put that in that courage bucket, and have a conversation around fearlessness. I hate cancel culture. I hate when we knock stuff off completely. So even in saying this, I know someone's going to be like, yeah, fearless, and jump on fearless, and I'm not fearless, and, da, 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 and don't say fearless anymore. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, think about it. Lean into your fears like a boxer leaning into a punch so it doesn't sting as much and then get to the other side of it. So that was my thoughts on fearless. Just popped up this morning. I thought I'd throw it out for you, and I'd love to hear what you think about that. I see a few comments here. Just don't stop saying, I have so many fears. Just don't stop saying, overcome fears. Blossom saying, I like. Carrie saying, yes. Just saying, yes. Any other thoughts on that? Like, what's your notion of the whole concept of fearless? And then the angle that I just threw in about courage. What's your thoughts on that? You put it in the comment section. You can give me a thumbs up if you want to join me on screen. I want to talk this out a little bit more. Because the other part to this, while I'm waiting for people to catch up with the delay, in thinking about my client who had fearless on her shirt, I was thinking about the times where in the time that we've been together where she was fearless, and I was about to commend her for those fearless things, but then I remember that, wait a minute, she was scared right at the beginning, and she did it anyways. So before I could commend her on being fearless, I actually started to commend her on being brave enough to move in spite of her fear. And I was like, wait a minute, we're not as fearless as we think. We're actually fearful and move in spite of it. So that was the origin of the conversation. And Jess's comment here says, I think fearless is like just a tagline. Yeah, exactly. Let's drag people in, let's pull people into a conversation about it. Let's have them think about it and just or not think about it and just like use that and just associate it in whichever way. See some more about that tagline piece. Okay, so is it meant to give us courage in spite of our fear, as you say in this comment here, or is it supposed to just hype us up so that we don't fear stuff? Just like forget about the fear. Don't think about the fear. Be fearless and not respect the process of moving to a place of fearlessness. Am I just like rested and now thinking about stuff too much? Is that what's going on right now? Like, I mean, is it take a weekend to just clear my head and then now there's space for just like deep analysis of a shirt from Lululemon? Like, I don't know, like, it's just my thoughts, my random clear mind thoughts. I don't know if you're ready for this. I think I should just stay busy. I think your eyes are open now, Jess, so much the amount that you're typing. The comment, yeah, both. I think you're on point. The word fearless is just as easier than all the other stuff we said. So I would say, like, if there was two shirts hanging in the store, and one said fearless and one said courageous, I would grab the courageous shirt all day long. Maybe I grab the fearless shirt just to hype myself up, but hype is hype. That's like surface stuff, man. I like that, but we want to get deep. You want to get deep with stuff. You want to have like some like true strength, some Pilates strength, not just like bench press strength. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the way I look at it. Yes, I said bench press strength versus Pilates strength. Come at me. What's going on, Philip Griffin? Mr. Griffin, I'm not sure how much you caught of that conversation about fearless versus courage. I'm not going to run through it again. Watch the replay. Tell me what you think. Um, you know what, though? Like, and Jess's comment says, but I think some people need the hype. I think people need the hype. I do agree that sometimes you need someone cheering you on and just being in your ear, telling you that you could do it because we're competing. Here we go. We compete against all these negative messages all day long, which bother me so much that maybe when you have someone in your ear just saying, like, yeah, you could do this, we got this, you need that. Absolutely need that. So I'm with you on that. So I'm not hating on the fearless line, not hating on the hype. It's true, we need it. You can't stay at the hype. You can't like I'm gonna go old school public enemy. Don't believe the hype. Like there's more to it than just the hype. So get deeper with it, understand it, and then embrace your fearlessness, then embrace your courage, then embrace all those things from a place of truly understanding who you are, where you are, what you got. So um so that's it. That was my thoughts. Um, we spend all day long hyping people up, cheering them on, showing them what they can't do, convincing them that they're stronger than they think, that they can do more than they think, that they're smarter, prettier, better, stronger, braver, richer than they think. That's all we do all day long. So, like, I love this. And I think that that's why I wanted a conversation around fearless for my client to be like, okay, yeah, you're fearless, but you're also courageous. And any of your fearlessness came from that place of courage. So let's find yourself a courage shirt too. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, people? Does anyone disagree with this? I'm more than welcome to have a conversation about how you see this differently. Um, that's just my thoughts. My next client coming in not my guest here on Core Conversation, my next client coming into the space is a psychologist. So I'm definitely going to throw this at her as well. And just as comment said, I think we're evolving past the nice hype as a whole. Yeah, I think so too. Because, I mean, you can't help but in a pandemic when you have this many voices and this many talking heads getting you to look at yourself, that hype, you can't stay at hype. I follow you though. You're still asleep. It's all good. This is a psychopath. Yes. Too funny. Good times, good times. So we have a couple more freestyles this week. We have Pilates Carrie, as you see here in the chat. She's joining me on Wednesday. I have some other guests who I'm still working on joining me. If you know of anyone who you'd like to see on here as a guest, let me know. I will chase them down and get them in here because I think these are fun conversations and I love hearing people's stories. That sense of just like hyping them up, like Connie on Friday, where he's like, "You're actually legit a good person. You're running a great program." You see her podcast. Listen to the podcast when it drops on Wednesday. All good stuff. And it's and for her being in the fitness industry, Inspire Brand, what's going on? For her being in the fitness industry on the PT side, where I came from, and to hear the conversations happening in the PT corner of the fitness warehouse, sounding much like the conversations happening in the Pilates corner of the warehouse. It's good and reassuring to hear that people are asking themselves the question of what does self-care look like? What does rest look like? What does being present look like? What does intentional look like? What does your interactions with their clients beyond the technical capability of being able to do a push-up look like? Asking those hard questions, filling the room with people who can answer those hard questions or ask you other hard questions. The Tasha Edwards, the Michael Piercy's, Peter Twist. I'm just mentioning a few of the names of people that are going to be at this conference. She's doing that. So Connie's doing great work with that. So please check out the podcast on Wednesday. Watch the replay. It's on YouTube. It's here on Instagram. Trying to give you some food, man. Just trying to get you guys just as much food as possible so we can all grow in this work and we can be fearless and courageous in the work that we do and who we are as people, bringing the best version of ourselves. Yes. Today's theme was fearless. Was it? Is that what I put? What did I put? Fearless convos. So, Stephanie, if you get a chance, watch the replay because I just like toppled the road fearless and then rebuilt it in a different way. I think that'd probably be the best way. Jess, would you say we took the scaffolding of fearless and we looked at what it's framed on, and then we just rebuilt it. Um, we gave that structure some integrity. So that's what we just did, and I think that's where we're at. Thank you so much for joining us, and yeah, love to have you on. So, Inspire Brand, also, if you want to just reach out to me after, I'd love to have you on as a guest. Paisley Pilates as well, jump in as well. Awesome sauce. Have a great day, says Pilates Carrie. And likewise, I say that as well. We're back at it tomorrow. Another topic. Thank you for your interaction. Thank you for all that you do. Mr. Phil's jumped in right at the beginning. Thank you for joining me. I just downloaded so much about supporting, amplifying, connecting, and fearlessness, and just topics that just help us all to just look at and walk into our next client with a different level of intentionality. So, that being said, we're out. Thank you so much. And last thing, Global Pilates Conference was this weekend. Find out how you can get the replay. The Activate Academy conference is happening on the 22nd. Jump into that. If you have any online classes, workshops, or conferences, please put it in the comment section when I put the replay up. And we are out. Thank you so much.